As I get up and further up the market taking room, smoking out an old clay pipe for a first where I was bound. I met a chill so likes myself with heavy kind of swing. Says Geordie man to bugs, I'm gone the fusker for to hang.
Because grandfather and grandmother we'll start them at the top. Jessie Ann Weir and Alec Campbell. And they had a son and 3 daughters, namely my father, Alexander Hector Campbell, and Jeannie, Mary, and Madge. Well, my grandfather was Alexander Campbell as well, known as Sandy, and Carpenter went to him first of all at Hassiewells and subsequently to Bulgaveney House, and collected that and a lot of other songs, but collected all the stuff that he wrote in his book. I obviously was not in the go when Carpenter was there, so I didn't know much about him, but apparently he stayed a long time with my grandfather and collected a lot of stuff, presumably from other sources as well. He was sent to school at the age of 7 and left to enter farm service at the age of 12. And speaking of this, Stanley would laughingly remark, "Gin I didna get lang at squeal, I got a neuch in the higher house." Well, obviously, Mackintosh of Wembley was the man who published the book, but how they came to reach that stage I'm not really aware of. But Mackintosh published The Heather Bells of Benahee. This is a poem from my grandfather, and it's headed The Ordnance Survey for Southampton. There were 5 jolly fellows came to Benahee to tuck up the levels tween it and the sea. As merry a quorum as e'er I met we did that Ordnance Survey for Southampton. But nor a wa and me ag wid ging with them. It's nae very likely that I'll ever see them, but if they come back, my assistance I'll give them, yon Ordnance Survey for Southampton.
All Benahee has magic powers in summer heat and thunder showers. Continually the traffic pours to see this famous mountain. They come on fit, they come on cates, they come they are the blessed apes. There's something that trepans their hearts to climb this famous mountain.
Jeannie was at home all the time, so she would have been party to all of what went on, really. While the other ones were away from home during that time. We had been home at times, but my Aunt Jean was always at home.
Well, and your father was the only one that married.
My father was the only one that married, exactly.
Yes.
And of course he chose a wife for London. My Aunt Mary, who was a nurse in Woolwich, had lived in a flat owned by my mother. And she took my mother up on holiday to Bulgaveney and met my father, and, well, the rest is history. Whose first love was joinery, I suppose. Although we had a wee croft and a tractor, which he couldn't drive. So as a bairn I had to do the driving of the tractor for him. But he worked as a joiner, first with Macintosh at Wembley, who actually was published the Heather Bells of Benahee. He worked with Macintosh at Wembley, and then latterly he worked on his own at Porgue. He did a lot of concerts and things like that, and therefore he was in kind of demand really for doing these things. He didn't write any poetry, but he collected a lot of stuff. And I think his favourite was Burns, of course, because I was waking at night during Burns' time, him reciting Burns all night almost.
You could just actually do the first line of any bit of Burns and he would finish it. He knew it that well.
Oh, just pick up a book.
Pick up a book, take a page, read the first line, and he would just carry on.
When first I left all Aberdeen to Liverpool, I went. It was to push my fortune there, it was my hale intent. And when I land an English grown, it's up to fellas game. Said, Scotty, for ye the day, and who's your friends at home? Kind gentlemen, I answered them, as soon as e'er they spoke. My mither and the pigs are fine, that's all the friends I've got.
He must have thought it was time to put all his recitations and his songs onto tape. So we decided to get him a tape recorder. At this time he was unwell actually, and I think was behind his thinking for us and for the family to put all his recitations and songs on tape. And so we got him a tape recorder, and needless to say, he spent hours in bed reciting and singing. We didn't know that we weren't going to have him for that much longer, but he obviously had thought about this seriously, and he was getting out of breath while he was doing it, but he did it, and thankfully we have got, that's quite precious to us.
Fair in Tara Square, and I was there for sale. The way I spent the long day was drinking beer and ale. As I get up and further up the market taking room, smoking out an I'll play pipe for a first where I was bound. I met a chill so likes myself with heavy kind of swing. Says Geordie man to bugs, I'm gone the fusker for to hang. All bugs he needs a second man, you'd shoot the job recht well. Fune come home with me to bugs the second pair to reel.